Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Galactic Intraversal Consortium. Today's episode is being recorded on 9/28/25. I now open this circle to true benevolence with no conflicting agendas as of this moment in time. So, Joanna?
We are all one, and when one is harmed, all are harmed. When one is helped, all are helped. Therefore, in the name of who I am and I am one with all there is, that only the highest good be done. We pray for you, your friends, your family, your loved ones, to let healing energies in. Let them love you, let them nourish you, and let them bring you to your highest good. We ask for benevolence now to come in with no conflicting agenda, so that we may have this conversation in great understanding. And we ask for malevolent or mischievous type beings to be swept away, so that we may have this conversation in peace. And with that, and with great blessings that we always send your way, we say so be it.
And so be it.
So be it.
This is going to be a pretty interesting episode. I entitled this one Mumm, the Thundercats Disclosure, and the Lyran Exodus. And if anybody watched the old, and I'm not going to describe the entire thing, don't worry about it. But the whole point of the beginning of the pilot of Thundercats is the original homeworld is being destroyed by a big black pyramid. And this goes to the Orion invasions, actually, and the Lyran Wars. And what happened is they get into the heroes get into this, Lionel and all the rest of them get into this space stasis pod when they're teenagers. By the time they reach this other planet, they're adults inside the stasis chamber. And but then the guy in the Black Pyramid named Mumm, he's a reptilian mummy. Tracks him, and he has to sleep in the bottom of the pyramid because he burns through his energy, and he has to gather more energy from the pyramid, like an energy collector. So each time he comes to his full power, like he's this big badass reptilian, not a mummy, he weakens, and he has to wrap himself in the wrap and go back into his sarcophagus. And but the thing of it is, I came to find out there is a bit of propaganda woven in there. Everybody that looks at Thundercats sees the Thundercats with the sword that with the big eyeball on the front of it, and the known symbol with the cat face from the profile. There's a bit of propaganda, and what I mean by that is this. And I'll switch to a different theme here that will weave the picture. Everybody is probably saying, we're probably the only three people in existence that have not seen the Chronicles of Narnia, The Witch, the Lion, and the Wardrobe, and Prince Caspian. But it helps not having seen this, because you see these references from the other end of the spectrum, like with the Aslan Lion and all these other things, with the Jesus connection, all these other things. The Lion's Gate that comes up every August 8th of every year, 8/8, the 8/8 portal, everybody. And you remember us saying on the lifting that was a load of horse crap, because that's something the CIA made up in order to get you to co-create poorly on different PowerPoints and cross quarters of the year. And this was just part of the New Age scamming from the 90s. It was 97, 98 is when the Lionsgate thing was created, I believe, by the CIA and the three-letter agencies. But with this, this is more specific to a lion form, not necessarily cat people in particular. This is a lion form, and I'll read off real quick here. The name of the lion in C.S. Lewis's The Chronicles of Narnia is Aslan. He is a major character depicted as the creator and true king of Narnia, a wise and powerful talking lion who is a force for good and serves as an allegory of Jesus Christ, which a lot of people refer back to, like the Lyran connection. They're like, oh, this is a Lyran connection that they're putting in this. And the planet Lyra is in the Lyra constellation, as people probably guessed, and was destroyed during the Orion Wars, just like what was depicted in Thundercats, and then subsequently resurrected through timeline mergings and Mandela effects. Now, I felt I was having my chain yanked somewhere, and I started to really look. The Aslan line, it's a symbol of basically resurrection, like the Jesus story. They imprinted that into the witch, C.S. Lewis imprinted that into the witch of the Lion in the Wardrobe. He dies and then comes back later on in time and is resurrected. They pulled this gag in South Park where they did Imagination Land, where they had both Jesus and Aslan Lion standing as heads of the Imagination Land Council, like they didn't exist, kind of thing. I found that hilarious when they did that. But these are just bits of disclosure with this. Somebody was dropping clues. And our friend Richie and I discovered when we were looking into some of the Lyran or the cat people sects, these are all descendant lineages of travelers, like you see in Thundercats, where they came here after Lyra was destroyed in the Lyran Wars. That Lyra was destroyed much prior to Asgard, or transitioned to another realm like Asgard. What ended up taking place was throughout history, you see these references to like dome cities or domed like little like golf ball looking like the Epcot Center type of look, but with a dome. This is Lyran technology and Lyran geometry, and they're associated with sacred geometry. But here's the catch, folks. And the same goes with the Lion's Gate. You ask anybody in the New Age community what's the Lion's Gate for, and what are the Lyran superpowers, basically. And they basically will tell you geometry, energy, every time. And with the Lion's Gate, what's big? Oh, it's the energies. But they can never break it down. With the real information, you can break it down from A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all the way to Z. When it's vague like this, folks, and it involves sun gazing to some extent, there is something wrong. So, and I'm not bashing cat people because I've come across a lot of really good ones. But I've come across just as many assholes and sects. Richie and I discovered the lion ones in particular have been their ego has been overbuffed with this Aslan lion personality type. And it's like they were created by somebody, I don't know, some brat somewhere that would emulate this type of like god, demigod worship personality. The lion ones in particular, with the big mane, like the Narnia Aslan lion. So, and even the brat one time, somebody during an older GIC a long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, yes, Isaac, thank you, but made a reference, somebody on the old GIC vintage ones made the point, said, does Michael, is he a lion at this point? And that's actually telling. And I was like, no, he doesn't look like this. I wasn't understanding the reference that spirit was showing me at the time. And I've kind of like tiger beings, I've run across these tiger-like beings that have been very kind, very respectful. I want to make that clear. But also in the show Grimm, they show these cat people as being like those that ran the Roman arena, in that. And I'm like, okay, they show them as like this really, really gladiatorial type personality. I've run across ones like this. But and then I've run across some magical black cat like ones like you'd expect around Halloween. I may even include the recording we did on the black cat people of Arizona at some point on here, or we can do a new recording on this. But because we were going to do a World of Cat People at one point, it kind of fizzled out, and now I understand why. The tiger-like ones and white tiger-like ones, I've run across some descendants that live here on Earth, and they have been wonderful. I ran across some that were around in the France area that were kind of and some in Arizona that some cat people go up through the middle of Arizona and down into the desert area of the Sonoran Desert. Now, this leads me to one more major thing before I quit babbling about this. Everybody's probably heard of the gods Bastet in Egypt and Sekhmet. When Sekhmet originally first came to me when I wrote the book From the Fall to the Lifting, and I had a chapter on him, her. This should tell you if you have the him, hers, and the theys, thems, that's usually a clue that it's probably a being you probably don't want to associate with in some demigod cult somewhere. And Isaac said, what was your first clue? So, when it's the gender swapping ones, and that goes back into that conversation, which I'll refrain this time. But what happened in the book, the very first words, and it should have been a clue to Sherlock at that point. Very first words that Sekhmet ever used to me in the book were, I want to be inside you. This is a clue there, Sherlock, that you probably don't want to talk to this particular being. So, meaning that meant channel, I thought at the time, thinking, okay, this is just some being's way of wording this. Not necessarily. That just sounds like that could be true. And I just assumed at the time that that was true. But I thought that was, that's creepy in and of itself. But she called their people Sonorian, or Sonoran. And the Sonoran Desert is just outside of Phoenix, Arizona. And there's a heavy cat being population there. Even back when I was a teenager, when my friend, he's known as Phantom Gigabyte on the internet, and I were living together in an apartment. I had a dream about a cat person in Sedona that was coming up over a full moon covered mesa at night and trying to grab me from the mesa, and people are warned in that area, don't go up into certain areas at night. You'll be grabbed. It's usually reptilian, but in this case, and military, but in this case, some of that has withdrawn since then. I'm not saying don't do it unless your intuition's telling you don't do it, unless you get this foreboding feeling of some kind. But there was this big cat being that came out, and I had to slug it in the face. And then it had this weird glyph in its eye, like it was cursed or something. And another incident where two cat people were actually running one of the soul trap spheres that I came across in a vision sequence once. So yeah, so they're not all good. You cannot lump. You just basically say true benevolence, no conflicting agendas, and the law of one. You pretty much got what you need at that point. But this one part, I will say, which is really odd, is you have, and I'll just read this one thing. The primary cat goddess of ancient Egypt was Bastet, associated with protection, fertility, and pleasure, who was often depicted as a woman with a cat's head, and other associated deities, including the fierce Sekhmet, an older lioness goddess who was later seen as Bastet's fierce twin, and Mafdet, the earliest feline deity representing justice. Cats themselves were sacred animals in Egypt, mummified and offered to the gods, particularly Bastet, to ensure favor, to express gratitude. Now, cats in particular will see if you have activity around. And the difference I like to say between dogs and cats when there's paranormal activity or ghosts or demons or what have you is a dog will come find you and basically say, hey, I think there's something happening. A cat will look at the thing and go, and you would be doing what here? So there's a stark difference. They both guard, but there's a stark difference here. So there's also these beings that are dimensional that were conjured in that time of Egypt, from what I understand, that are these cat-like beings that are guards and guardians. So people have associated lion with guardian, then it goes back to the Aslan thing again. They've crammed two completely separate things together here. But if people want to see the different breakdowns of different cat races, go to some of the programs me and Ryan did about the Elder Scrolls, and you'll see like the Khajiit from Elder Scrolls. You'll see all the breakdowns in the descendant lineages that they're in, including a displacer demon type like you see in Honor Among Thieves, or Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves, where you see the cat with the big feelers all over it. That's a displacer demon. That is a weird morphogenic or anamorphogenic type demon type. That's a cat type. But the focus of this conversation is the Narnia lion with Aslan. This is that Lionsgate type of vibe. One thing though I will say, which I found two things. This morning, I walked into my my mother and my stepfather's den. All of a sudden, there's a commercial playing it was a cat litter commercial, and it was that sliding cat litter where they're dancing all at a dance floor, and that's a clue that's disclosure of cat people. I saw a car commercial once where you saw cat people in it, so people are getting used to this look. And there's the Mountain Dew commercial you heard me talk about with all the aliens in it, including the cat person. And the Secret Space Program uses cat people and werewolf soldiers, just like the Witcher lore, where it's the school of the cat and the school of the wolf. So this is where they transform people into these were animals to be soldiers that way, and that's where you get some of the dogmen lore. We can go into that in the werewolf lore at some point after we do the vampire stuff. So now. The one that eventually is going to talk today is Hadjamal. You'd expect a cat person, but I find it interesting in the Chronicles of Narnia, The Witch, the Lion, and the Wardrobe. There is a character called Professor Diggory Kirk. And I find this very, very interesting, where in Narnia, the professor is an old wise man named Professor Diggory Kirk, who serves as the owner of the house where the Pensivi children stay and provides guidance to them, especially regarding Lucy's discovery of Narnia. He is a key character because he has a past. He is Diggory, a boy who visited Narnia with his friend Polly Plummer during its creation and was responsible for planting the tree whose wood later became the wardrobe. And the portals, as we've said in GIC past, are passages. The portals, wardrobes, closets are all portals and doorways. And this is why you have ghosts and such that get into crawl spaces and whatnot. And portals can open up in these little spaces. I even had that dream where that girl was actually hugging a doll trying to get away from this Orion nun that was in some kind of orphanage. And there was these beings communicating through a wardrobe. This is that was an elven group that might speak later on this, being by the name of Traven. That's almost like Narnia. He said Narnia, they had a hand in writing some of C.S. Lewis's through channeling that kind of concept. That can come in a later episode. But the character of Diggory looks very much, and I'll screen share very briefly. I want to show you this. He looks like a human version of Hajamal. This character right here. So I wanted to point this out. And basically I found out his character plants an apple and it basically grows. Narnia, kind of like Odin, basically creating the 9 realms out of a branch of the residual tree. In the multiverse, when he gives his eye to the well of Ood, he gets that knowledge and he's able to create all of that. So I find the parallels of this interesting. So I'm actually done babbling at this point. So Bjorn or Joanna, what do you want to add at this point?
Nothing, just let's get on to the conversation.
Sounds good. Ready to go.
Okay. Yeah, I thought all these parallels were quite fascinating. And some of the BS surrounding the whole Lyran conspiracy kind of deal. I'm not blaming an entire race. I'm just saying this, but because of stuff our government made up and stuff the Orions made up and other groups made up. I just want to say that I've seen some very loving cat people.
Right.
But I've also seen some really nasty ones and vampiric type ones too. Another one in a dream hid in a dog house or cat house outside and actually tried to clobber me once in a dream. So they are Dreamtime invaders along with the Draco and along with the bugs and some dog people and werewolves do it too. Some forest people have tried it as well. So depending on their allegiances. So had them all. Didn't know you were in the movie, but okay. The fact that he's a professor and teaches the old history, just like Hadmal teaches the proper use of psionics, and he's both Long-Elusian and Tartarian world unity, I find that quite interesting because Traven's group, the Elven group, the whole Narnia connection is also basically involved in the Tartarian world unity. So I find that all the parallels interesting. So, and they can speak to that at some other time, but Hajamal. Of course, I make a new Sasquatch statue out in the workshop, and he wants to use it. Okay, so because it looks like him. So, okay. A lot of interference with this the Samhain time here, folks. Okay, true benevolent Hajamal only. Sorry for the pressure ensued on the head and chest. Oh, this is the time of year by which this shit happens. Yes, he is correct. There are parallels between the Diggory character and myself. highly suggest now that you watch these movies because there are a lot more parallels to the information that you are seeking. C.S. Lewis was indeed channeling, especially with the wardrobe, as he saw a little reptilian jump through one time, where a client said she heard a beeping noise in her ear, and a tiny Draco reptilian, she woke up to see this tiny Draco reptilian. He said, oh, sorry, bitch, and then ran through the wardrobe. With wardrobes, it's highly recommended if you have an independent wardrobe or closet that you put a sigil on the reverse side facing inward. If you do the mirror thing, it will work too, but you can't have mirrors facing each other. It will reinforce the portal if you have an infinity mirror in place. And Ghosts come through, and he made the comment or question of what a tracking ghost is. Different ETs and different dimensionals can take a poor, unsuspecting ghost person and turn them into a tracker, and then that person is then directed to someone's house and basically say, ask this person how to get to the other side, when in fact the person sending them is a narcissistic prick. Just saying, you've encountered this multitudes of times. This is how you wonder how things are getting in your house. Sometimes ghosts are passing the barrier because they're not necessarily evil, and they have a tracker sigil, curse sigil, within the back of their neck, right here, but where their brainstem would be. Just look for this. It's just like the control rods that you saw and little AI things that on face eaters and some dogmen and dragons and things of this nature. But back on conversation. The Lyran people. How can I begin with this? The forest people and some of the dog people didn't quite trust them when him and his friend Richie were talking, because of the duplicitous nature by which then they speak to people. You had your Corey Goods, and such on your Gaia network talking about, the government tracks and traps them with these electrical type nets when they're trying to give esoteric wisdom to somebody walking up to them. I do believe the term full of shit applies here because of the fact that, yes, they are hunted, but that was an amalgam story of multiple things. But were they the rescuers of mankind, like you've been told back in ancient Egypt, trying to stop Enlil / Osiris from doing his thing? Not necessarily. Now, are there guardian cats that are dimensional and dragon-like in nature, like you see a house cat? Yes, all house cats are dragons. All of them. Every cat you've seen is a dragon. Your Chinese dragons, or the cat dragons, those are guardians of portals. Some of your dogmen, of course, have this prestigious honor, so do some forest people. So, what I'm trying to say is this. In the beginning, there was a planet that you know of as Lyra in the Lyran star system.
Excuse me.
In this, did the Orions subsequently destroy it? Yes. Well, did they take the body switching technology? This goes back to that gender swap thing that he saw with Sekhmet being two of male and female type thing. Did they steal that from them? And eventually the Ebens got a hold of it. Therefore, your government got a hold of it for the gender swapping thing in the secret space program. Yes, yes, and yes. But did the Lyrans at the time really heavily fight back against the black goo and that of the Orions? Yes, again. Did they die in this? Did they have this Exodus plight like you see in your Thundercats? Yes. But at the same time, the character of Lionel in your Thundercats is the allegoric and or prophetic Aslan lion type character. Oh, they want peace, justice, and equality. Is this a good quality? Yes. Am I dumping on all lion people? No. This is a symbol that was being used to be able to anchor to the New World religion in the New World Order. What he accuses Christianity of becoming. This is only partially true. It was fully true a long time ago. His information is slightly out of date, more in the Christ time frame of that creation. He's remembering something that happened long ago. And are they trying it again? Yes. But it will not work. this time around. Just like it did not work the first time. So, they try this every few centuries or so, and it just gets to be a little old. But the Lyrans, what happened when they had their exodus? Some came here. Some went to Asgard. Some went into the Pleiades. Some went into Cirrus. They all became their own separate cultures. Some actually before that, the ones of the Khazad Thul that were more dragon-like. Yes, there was a progenitor race that was more dragon-like. That's why you have house cats that are technically dragon souls. You also had what you saw when the spirit of Winston, his miniature schnauzer, showed up, that he was both a cat and a dog and a dragon-like thing. That is from there. And also the Khazad Thul homeworld is more of a dimensional space. And the original Lyra is essentially that face of the dimensional space. Was it destroyed? Yes. Did it come back in some resurrection of timelines? You can say that, but there were some beings that wanted to make it sound like the Narnia Aslan lion, the resurrection, the truth, and the way. This is a complete fabrication. If any beings or any of them are coming to you basically saying that they know the wisdom of the geometry, they know how can I put this? That they know that they are the progenitors of the sacred knowledge in some fashion. No, any races are. This is why no one race can hold to that. Just like your Native Americans, for instance, they say that they are the ones that hold the Earth's sacred knowledge. They just happen to have more access to it. It doesn't mean that particular lineage, even that came from Lemuria, and they had some standing orders to guard nature and to protect nature, which is fine. But it doesn't mean somebody else cannot. And so if the Lyrans come to you and say, or any Lyran race say they are the Lyrans, be very leery, no pun intended, with this. There isn't, how can I put this lightly? There isn't really a species called Lyran. They are, that's like, or Lyran. There are cat races that have different names for their different cultures, just like you have human. But you have all these different races. You have also different cultures: American, Canadian, Englishman, Arab, Jew, Russian, Ukrainian, Australian, any of them, European, German, any of them. So you have these different cultures that have started their own planets. They and they have mixes of other people in with them, so they technically are a different race. Even Lanulos has a few of these mixes. There's a human-looking one as well. Your species has a very high amount of this particular DNA. You wouldn't guess that. You would think that they were cat-looking, right? No. They look just like you. They are Nordic-looking. In a fashion. There are actually not many of the full cat ones left. There are some on Earth and descendant lineages of them on Earth, but it tends to transmute over to the more human look. It's very much like in your Gene Roddenberry's Andromeda, where the Magog turn into this human more looking Magog. That is more of a demon reference. But with this, the majority of the Aslan lion look, let's just say they're lion through their D. So word pun included. So there are good ones, good Lyrans that now are trying to reobtain some of their resources. But there are also other pirates that are using their different technologies. You even saw in your Star Trek animated series where you had a cat person that Kirk ends up having to kill because he's a pirate. There are these soul fishermen or pirates that throw nets over people to try to gain their light bodies and try to make a code copy of it. They pull it, make the code copy of it, snap it back, and put it in place. They put it in a cage temporary to make the photocopy kind of like an echo form AI, and then put it back. They can't keep it very long. It's like a yo-yo effect. People think they take it permanently. They do not. They cannot. And they'll throw a net, pull, whoop, let go. And there's someone recently that got a picture of one of these nets trying to capture her light body temporarily for this code intrusion. It's quite fascinating that somebody photographed it. But the Lyran story is all over the place. So some of these channelers saying, I was Lyran here. Okay, which one? The same with Pleiades. I was Pleiadian. I know this. Which one? If these channelers cannot answer this, they have been lied to as to the origins of said beings. Just very much like you have your Pleiadian groups, like your Taigetans, your Mayan Federation, all of these types. Then, of course, you have your Aldebarans, which are Aldebaran Nordics, Prince of the Universe, the big-headed scrotum guys, the rest there. You have your New Haveners of your Pleiades. You have all these. So which one is which? Which is which? And also the curses of the black cat type of thing, that is a fallacy, but that's that black cat group that you were mentioning from Arizona. People are associating with witches, warlocks, and black magic. Now, the fact that the Orions basically interfered and made it so that that you saw a witch type of wizard-like type of fallacy being shown. The green witch with the warts and the long pointy hat, and the wizards with the pointy hat, that's Orion. That's also elongated skull. That's also some people that have green skin as well. Some Orions, like you see in Star Trek. This is what this is. They would create familiars. They would create them out of animals, or you have the gray familiars that everybody knows and loves in this. And I'm being sarcastic. Now, we're at the point where you can ask me questions.
So let me just ask a couple clarification questions. So one of them, if I heard you correctly, were you saying that that the Lyrans that came to Earth and colonized here, that they began to lose their more cat-like appearance and became more Earth-like in appearance just because of what happened, like with the werewolves and stuff, that it was just the Earth itself and the magnetics and pressures of the Earth itself that started to change their looks?
Yes, some did look a little bit like that on Lyra to begin with. There was another race there as well, and different cat races and different human-looking ones, like here. But when the Orions messed with your DNA, that they included some of that as well. But when the other colonists showed up with the energy, like what happened to the Antiqua, they got all buffed up and got very aggressive when they came here. So this is what happened to Lyrans. So a majority of also the ones underground as well, some of the Agarthan groups that are Nordic looking, you have, of course, you have your Lonulosians, you have your Venusians, you have all of them. But you also have some of these Lyran groups, and also Cassiopeian as well. But you have these Lyran groups that began to look human. They started to shed this cat-like visage. And it's like in your Star Trek Enterprise, where some of the Klingons got when they got a virus that made all their head ridges fall off. This is kind of what happened here. Even though you have lions and you have tigers and bears, oh my, in this, but you have bear people as well. That aren't quite good. Let's just put it that way. Him and Richie encountered them. They're actually quite nasty. But bear squatch types. Not all of them, just a good majority of them. The cat people got really aggressive, just like the werewolves. But then it started to transmute a few of them into more human-like. Some actually retained their cat-like appearance, just like some of the Antiqua retained some of the dog-like appearance, but got this really buff, over Frank Frazetta-ish like look. It's because the way the energies coursed through them then made them hyper. Some of them hyper-aggressive. Some of them retained their psyche like normal. Others did not. And also, when werewolves were made down here, some of your SSP factions decided it was a good idea to collect this DNA, go back in time, and actually start planting some werewolf tails in there. The same happened with some of the cat soldiers as well. So some of that's been stolen by your programs, like for School the Cat, School the Wolf. That is like your Karamoran with the Witchers. That is Secret Space Program Super Soldiers. But that aside, the original Lyran template acted no different on Earth than with the Antiquan werewolf type of DNA. And began to change. and then integrated more with people. But then you had your cultists and you had your different demigods grabbing the DNA as well, and they began to some good people began to shove out good cat variations and genetic variations, like your house cat is actually a genetic creation they are a helper, they are a little friend, they are a soul. They are from also some of it from the great seeding, but as well later on, he says they conjured certain ones. More like genetically bred certain ones, like the ones you saw when you were in Knightdale, North Carolina, the big lion that came in. Some of them are friendly, some of them are not. Some of them are like those displacer demon types. It just depends who got a hold of the genome. It wasn't just the Orions. You can also blame Poseidon for some of this stuff, Enki and Enlil for some of this stuff, and then creating the religious I am the truth and the way crap. The Lord High Commander of the Earth. So that intermixed in there to bullet point the answer to the question. Yes and yes. So the cat beings, it's overbloated by your New Age community, but the remaining ones are usually these big Frazetta-esque like buff. And sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're out from themselves, just like with anybody. And also, so the ones that are out in the galaxy are kind of the same way. You don't have these big esoteric, wise, old people, old cat people. Just like with us, we are kind of a mix as well. But then it's mainly the environment that's screwed with them, kind of like your Superman his cells get charged by the yellow sun kind of thing. It's basically along those lines.
So quick side thing, because when you were talking about them creating them, that went through my mind was the Sumerian picture where you have the big Anunnaki holding on to the lion, not necessarily lion from, I guess we're saying from out in nature, but one of their own creations, like they created a pet.
Yes.
That's what it sounds like.
Yes, 1,000 times yes. This is exactly what took place. They took some of that DNA and decided to make a pet, and then how do you think you guys like house cats now? And why do you think they dominate the landscape now? More so than rodents, actually. But they're very kind, very sweet sometimes. Like you have your son's 3 cats, they're just fine and they're sweet animals. But then you have ones that aren't quite so much, like ones that probably belong outside hunting. Then you, of course, your lions and tigers and all that. But it's based off the same genetic code, both dragon and Lyran. And you can thank the Anunnaki for some of the genetic manipulations. You can thank some of the other demigods for doing things with them, like corrupting it and repurposing it, reusing it, and basically kicking their rival in the nuts. That's basically what's going on.
And then just one more clarification from your frame of reference and historical time reference. How long ago did they end up having to leave their home world and start going to different places?
This was before the destruction of Asgard. So the Lyran Wars took place just prior to the Orion Wars. This was roughly not too far before Asgard. This was when Odin saw that Lyra had been destroyed. That's when he walled the system up. And would not allow anyone to come and go. He knew then the Ragnarok was close. So one could argue that was a more of a Jesus resurrection type of thing, but he would object to the reference. So he said that he would say that's his bastard son. But the other thing is being milked. It was roughly only roughly a few years prior to the destruction
so
of
at least 500,000 years ago.
Yes. So yeah, it was roughly 500,000 years. So it was within that time frame. So you had Lyra destroyed, and then he walled the system up, and then that's when that chess match began right there with him and the Orions. So until he got manipulated, let the shield down, and you know what happened after that. So
and do you know? I'm sorry, this just popped in my head. Do you know? Have they gone to any other place? Like they're the main race that lives on any particular planet anymore? They've melded into multiple.
They've melded into multiple
Okay.
cultures, including human. But when Lyra actually got fused back into the entire thing in their dimensional space, there was a smaller population there of the original types as well. The prior, it was just okay. How can I explain this? It is when the Exodus started to begin. Is when they were leaving, they went to create the other colonies. That is the version of Lyra that came back with the ones that were left there. Not left behind, Isaac like the rapture. No, just, he's in biblical creeper mode at the moment. Anyway, I suppose it's still you can apply the creepier version of that to this. Not your Thanos rapture stuff, but I'm talking about the. It is very similar actually, bringing the planet back with the timelines and everything. Kind of similar. We're kind of willing it back into existence, like the Doctor being willed back into existence. Your Doctor Who, it's very similar. So with what's left on the planet is more of a skeleton crew of what once was. The majority of the Lyran-esque population have been mixed and melded with bunches of other cultures, including human.
Okay, well, thank you, Bjorn.
Yeah, great to have you here, Hajamal. And I just wanted to take the chance to say I'm grateful and thank you for assisting me the other day.
Yes.
So I think we've answered a lot of questions that I was coming up with, but one of the things that we didn't talk about with Lyra was it a draconian war? Was it a fight with the Dracos that destroyed
They
the
were
planet?
involved, yes. They were definitely involved in this because they're the foot soldiers. And then you had what you know of as the princes of the universe and your Nordic types and such. Not all of them, I'm saying, but during that time, and also your Orion Greys, Black Goo, the whole bit. What do you think destroyed Asgard and Lyra was that. And also the explosion of the planet, then, as Odin would say, then provided the energy by which then it could be regurgitated later. It's more of a kind of like your dragon and the soul trap thing in your Skyrim, whereas he reconstitutes. There was a reconstitution command put on Lyra. But Asgard didn't necessarily have the same luxury because of the Nibiru entanglement story, but Lyra did. The Draco were heavily involved in the destruction of Lyra. They were the main invading force, in fact, at that time. The Lyrans did paste them a little bit, but then you had your angelic-looking, pretty boy types that were the invaders in this system. Hence the famous picture of your Michael and Lucifer with the winged angel with the sword picture. That was actually one of those conquistadors of time and space, as he calls them, taking down an Asgardian giant at the time. So that became the picture of Michael and Lucifer, which that's not necessarily true, mind you. It is and it isn't. But with the Draco, what they did is they would ravage a world first. They would come in being the destructive force. There's a fish race that exists now that's depicted in your Helldivers game series. It's more of a berserker type where they go in and destroy things. That's a reptilian fish mix. The Draco had that illustrious job then, before somebody decided to create a new rendition in this time frame. Also, your aquatic Draco had that illustrious honor at one point as well, even though they're more dimensionally based. But in the end, they chose the original template, which is that dinosaurish raptor crocodilian look for the famous foot soldiers that we all know and love. So, pun included and sarcasm definitely included. So, I hope this answers the question.
Yeah, it definitely does. So I heard you say Aslan. Was that just another name for Lyra?
Aslan was the name of your Narnian lion in that. This was actually, I believe it means like power or something like this. It actually, the word, when they used that, the original connotation was indeed connected with Lyran and lion and power and wisdom. So again, associating a trait with a race that's no different than you, just like they like to associate the cosmos with or humans saving the cosmos and bringing creativity and codexes back to the cosmos. It's all horseshit. But with this, it's basically applying a word to a race that you probably should not, because they're just like you, because they're mixed just like you. Why would you say that race is old and wise when in fact they are no different than yourselves? They may have ties to greater technology and greater knowledge about wisdom, geometry, all of this, but they are for the most part in your channeling community being used, or the name is being used to regurgitate generic ascension wisdom like and 5D wisdom. Here's this for an example. You say you have a generic Lyran talking to a channeler. They're saying some bit of esoteric wisdom about some of their, or about their technology or geometry. Oh, I was a wizard of geometry. Oh, I was this, I was that. And on top of this, basically saying, okay, some generic like New Age wisdom on how to ascend to 5D or anything like that. This is a load of three-letter agency horseshit at this point. So this is New Age propaganda. The real beings, you'll come across good ones, you'll come across not so good ones, you'll come across pirates, you'll come across some very ancient DNA. I will not lie. The codes that are involved in the knowledge and the genetic memory, I will not lie. There is some nobility there. But then there's nobility and there's nobility. So running across the latter is not something you want to run across. I'm not saying avoid talking to cat people, but the true benevolence with no conflicting agenda restrictions. Restrictions apply big time with them, more so than with us and with any other, but I would say always use it.
Okay, so that's why you're talking about this conversation about the Lyrans rather than one of the Lyrans coming in to talk about.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes. He wanted to elect a good one that he ran across, him and Richie ran across a while back. And they will only give opinion and a bit of conjecture surrounding their history. Some of them honestly do not know the Tartarian World Unity, and you have some in the Tartarian World Unity, just like you saw in the movie Dungeons and Dragons: The Honor Among Thieves. You saw all the people in the cities were of different races, like bird, cat, lizard, human, elf, all of them, and knight, peasant, any of them. You saw all them together. That's basically what the Tartarian World Unity is. Or like in your Elder Scrolls, you see all of them. That's the Tartarian World Unity. But you also see them as the descendants thereof. That they're not old and wise. They're just people. And not everybody accesses that information. So yeah, this is how this is depicted. These are just people that only know a certain amount of information. They can tell you what they're doing right now, but not all of them have access to that. That though that being was kind, he neglected to say that he may not know the entirety of the history, and some of them are prone to hyperbole. So they won't give you the facts that you want. They know the legends and they know some of the stuff surrounding this, but some of them are just prone to, in a self-defense move, they will tell you probably more than what actually happened. Let's just put it that way. Not necessarily lie, but it's like somebody who fishes and catches this fish, and then they say it was like 50 feet long when it was like 5. So this is, like I said, hyperbole. This is what usually happens with them.
Mm-hmm. I know that we're going to end up talking a lot more about the New Age information around Lyrans, because there's a lot of people who think that they are, and maybe are, star seeds, but the term star seed is also something I want to ask about. But I want to just say that the people are fantastic that are in the New Age community. They just don't have all the information, unfortunately. Yeah. And this is where we hope to correct some of that stuff by asking you questions around the New Age information. So there's a lot of people who talk about that they're Lyran starseeds. What can you tell us about that?
It's a generic term like ascending into 5D, but think of it this way. You all have Lyran DNA. So technically, every one of you is a Lyran star seed, and also there was the great seeding a long time ago. So technically, every person walking the earth is technically a star seed. That's not a magic trick. You, like in your movie 65, where you saw Adam Driver's character come from outside. Technically, he is a star seed because he's from the stars and he dropped his seed on the ground of the earth. Not in a gross way. I'm saying the metaphorically. This is essentially what that is. If your three-letter agencies are basically saying, "Oh, you're special. You're a star seed." This also comes from the Eben information as well, where what you said about the 144,000 quite a while back, which that's impressive, mind you, where they integrated some of their DNA in the Native American period and even much further back, and this is where you get some of the genius children from. Now, they are nearly complete in integrating their DNA in. Their DNA was gender nondescript, as what was said in a previous episode, a previous recording. So what happens here is this: they integrate a little bit of their DNA. The child comes in as a prodigy or genius. That's where you get your indigo children, your crystal and golden children of your New Age movement. Now, then you have rainbow children, all this. And yes, are there different children that have different sets of abilities that they come in to use them at a particular moment in time because you would say soul contract, but that's, he says, too business-like. It's more of the path they've come into to refine the timelines and harmonics down a little more. Yes, of course. But there's the genetic manipulation in there. They always say they're star seeds, and are there hybrids now that have more of the galactic DNA in them than what they already had? Yes, but does it make them a star seed? No, because it still applies to everyone that literally has genetic ties to the stars. It is not a special thing. It is basically an action. Stars, seed, not you. Oh, I'm special. I'm a star seed. I'm an indigo. I'm a crystal child. I'm a rainbow. I'm made of glitter. You know, it doesn't. It's not a thing. It was implanted in there by some aliens that wanted to show some importance to what they were doing, and also they created into a legend with the Native Americans, the legend of the Rainbow Children. You see where that got you in your three-letter agencies now with all your LGBTQ drama. What are they using? What are they fulfilling? It's an already created prophecy that's over several thousand years old. You include the Aslan lion in there with the truth in the way. You're integrating a lot of that in there as the opposition. You see, think of it this way: truth and way, chaos. You see what happened here? For and against. This is why neither should be adhered to except for the good components of both sides, and get rid of these for and against conspiracy, as you call it.
Yeah, thank you for that info. There's often conversations around that the Lyrans were the first to be of light body or a ascended being. And so I think that drives the idea in the New Age to really want to ascend and have a light body. But I know that the truth around that, we all have light bodies, but maybe you could explain some of the what you're thinking there.
This sometimes goes back to the whole ascension thing on the soul trap shit, where you're basically ascending to what exactly? A trap or a net. What did I say about some of the cat people that were pirates? They grab light body. Oh, you become this light body, and you're basically giving these pirates permission to do something to you. He had a dream sequence once where he went on board a Lyran vessel and saw half-naked ladies walking around with chains on them and nighties on them, while these other creepy pirates were actually taking them into slavery. This is a ruse. You see, you can come join the Lyrans in your light body. Yeah, and I hope you like being on a slave vessel. So this is where that comes from. But I said before, they can't keep that permanently. They will keep it like if they abduct physical people. He saw physical people having been abducted. That they're missing people now, unfortunately speaking. But with the light bodies, this is why sometimes you see naked people walking around on a spaceship, because they've taken the light body. Other times it's physical, of course, but this is why you see this. You become a light body and you go see the Lyrans that are also in their light body. Now, this crosses over to what people call crystalline DNA. Let me tell you how backwards this is. You cannot get back to this. Because out past the firmament, every person that was out there, that's out there, that the races are millions of years old, the carbon base automatically switches over, at least with humanoids and human-like ones, switches over when, like on Tumblins and all of them, switch over to crystalline DNA, like your sporocystine life form was in your Star Trek Voyager. When they died, it became a crystal cluster. What happens to anybody that comes from out there, outside the firmament barrier? They're here, they die. What does that look like? The Tibetans actually showed that one of their lamas died and became crystals, and they sold these little pieces of crystal and quartz. That's what happens to people from outside the firmament that lived out there. While you're here, you're not actually becoming that because you see a master of some sort with that. Again, they've come from outside to give you some more connection to something you've lost. They're trying to help you. But in turn, are you going to turn into crystalline DNA? No. No, because there's so many species DNA that have been woven into your genome. Not all of them can do that. Not all of them are that. And will you just poof into energy? No. Not unless that's a choice. That's a choice. That's not a prerequisite for supposed ascending. You just change, as he says, your perspectives and your perceptions as you go through life. Your I am presence back when you were younger is far different than the version now. The version now, looking back then, that version then would be completely dismayed, probably going, wait a minute, who are you exactly? And you've expanded since then. Every person can say that. Every single person walking the earth can say this. And also, he basically, what the Oversoul and the Avatar are trying to do is, he likes to say, bouncing on the I am presence, basically bettering both sides, both the Avatar soul and the Oversoul. So everybody is here doing this. So where does the whole sacred mission come in? Turning into light body and going to the Lyrans? Complete horseshit. Because these are beings that just wanted permission to do something to you. Just like he always says with a woman who had her son, basically told the story to your Josh Gates that time, that she said her son, she had a dream where her son, she was being told her son was going to die on his 18th birthday. She remembers this. And then when he approached his 18th birthday, she told him one of the worst mistakes she could have made. Even though people die when they're supposed to, this gave then permission to those soul shithead, the pirates, permission to grab him on his 18th birthday. They were waiting for a crop to ripe. That's the soul trap, soul trade nonsense. From biosphere to biosphere, they take ghosts and they take them over the biosphere, like he saw in his Forest Home Cemetery when he went with all the ghosts lined up against the gravestones, and they basically said the angel told them to stay put. Angel. I'm not blaming cat people for all of it. Sometimes they're the henchmen. Sometimes there's others involved. Your Lancaneers, I find that name funny. Means dickhead. I find that funny. Some of those guards are taking soul trap caravans different places. Sometimes they trick humans into making certain pieces. You'll know what I mean by talking about this. That have little skulls in them and internal pyramids that trap souls for guaranteed channeling purposes. So that's a soul trap where then that's kept and that's taken out there. You see all these dynamics that pop up? You have people also on the earth. What happens on earth? Say your neighbor. Do you know your neighbor well enough? Probably not. But do you know when you run across good or evil? Yes, sometimes, if you feel it out. But also you have a child trade going on. You have a slave trade going on. You have people that lord over groups of you all the time, creating laws that take away freedom of speech, or you have people trying to fight for their freedom, or you have people that fall for tricks. It's the same out there. As above, so is below. You have to remember this phrase. With any of the species out there, wipe away some of this extreme wise, in awe of type of Aslan lion horseshit, then you can see people for who they are, just like you see on Earth. This is why you have to see yourself first and then be able to discern the environment around you. Then you can discern whether it's stranger danger or not. Just like if you see a UFO or spaceship, don't get in it. It's basically like, would you get in a car on a van on the corner that said free candy on the side? No, you would not. It's the same identical thing. This bursts the bubble of the New Age community. But is there energy wisdom and all that's going on? Of course there is. Of course. You're regaining abilities that awaken abilities that you're supposed to have. And you're regaining connections to spirit. That spirit was never lost, but your receptivity of it was. You had amnesia. You're regaining some of this back. You're awakening all this within you. But it does not mean that you get into a van that's a van down by the river that says free candy on it. Bad move. Not bashing Chris Farley. His jokes were funny. I'm just saying, using that joke in a different connotation. So, hope this answered.
Yeah, I think it's good to talk about the ascension. Because I actually ascended today. I went up the stairs and then I descended. But sorry for the joke. But I think it's used in very much in connection with improving yourself. And I just want to add that part is often what we've called the shadow work, is to constantly improve yourself here, which I think is very important. And everybody, no matter how much they feel that they need to do it, probably need to do some more of it. But a question on you talked a little bit about the DNA and going past the firmament. We've talked a lot about the firmament in some past shows, so I won't get into that. But the DNA, there's also in the New Age community a thought around that you'll get I think it's a 12-strand DNA. What are they talking about with that, and where is that leading to, and where did that come from?
It's a very convoluted tale. This was put in implementation by the Draco many thousands of years ago. Your chakra system were a set of, how can I put this? Implants that were covering the actual octaves of your energy. What he was seeing in the past, seeing the different emblems that go with the different chakras, these were the different locks, keeping you from different information. Say if you had a door to another room, and excuse interference. This subject tends to get attention. You'd say you had a door to another room and it was closed and it was locked. And say on the doorknob or on the lock itself, you had a different key that you needed for each door. That's what these implants are. You're having to claw your way out of some of this control. Once you hit I don't want to be cliche, but once you hit a particular frequency, will these unlock? Not necessarily. You have to hit a certain harmonic to hit that. It's a fallacy that if you hit a certain frequency, you're suddenly going to blind all of this out, and you'll be so bright that all the demons will have to look away. Now, sometimes they look right at you and go, that you're so bright, that you shine so brightly that you'll blind every demon and basically able to walk on water. Now, sorry, it doesn't work this way. You shine your bright headlights at people, you might blind them, but they'll crash into a pole. So that, and you might annoy people around you that might not have been bad at all, and some people are yelling at you for it. But it doesn't mean that you don't balance yourself. That's not what I'm saying. The fallacies behind also bettering yourself, absolutely. But they coupled it with ascension. Can you repeat one of your questions with the chakras, please?
Oh, the question was around the 12 DNA piece and where that was leading to. And there's often a conversation, because I understand we're 2-strand DNA, but there's a real reason for that specific. And so the thought is that other species have many multiple strands of DNA, and that is what is when you get more strands, the thought is you unlock more capabilities, like you become Superman if you had 12.
Yes, there is a truth to this with the 12 strands of DNA, sort of. You could add, that's genetic engineering involved in this. They want people to accept being wanting to be altered, you see. So this goes back to genetic engineering primarily. If you add, like, say, if you had a person that you had the mitochondrial DNA traits of both parents. Say if you add in other strands in there, then it showed you had multiple parents. Wouldn't you get DNA capabilities from those multiple parents? Yes, they want you to accept that type of engineering so that people can screw with you. Now, can you open up epigenetic DNA and get something from the past, or like your late introns, like on Star Trek, and all that opened up the crew of the Enterprise became all these creatures? That was a little exaggerated, mind you. A little bit of parody, a little bit of exaggeration and hyperbole in there from some tall tales, like your Paul Bunyan type of thing, with the big blue ox, even though there were that was from a more ancient story. With genetic engineering again. I'm just saying and people were actually that tall, titans, all that. Anyway, that had the bigger creatures like your Chrome talked about this and everything. But with this, is there a 12-strand DNA thing that will link with the 12 chakras, the ones that are also above your head, not just the 7, 8 of them? No. There's several more in your aura. Will this link up to 12 strands of DNA? No, not even close. It is, people think shadow work will open these up to get these 12 strands of DNA. No, they want you to trick you in order to not doing the proper shadow work. They want you to ascend to where they want to take you, and focusing up in the sky versus doing your own shadow work, and they want you to couple it with it, like saying Christ consciousness. There's no such thing as a Christ consciousness. It's an over soul, and it's a soul that has aspects within the multiverse and multiple timelines and realities and dimensions and expressions. This is a load of horse crap where they're coupling a person again to a concept like the Aslan lion being the truth and the way kind of thing. It's a load of crap. You do not want to couple your name to a cause, like somebody saying they're an Anon, like saying they were a QAnon person. They were really saying, I just want truth, protection, better world, all of this other thing, truth of information, no lies. But they were coupling their name to a cause. The same goes with religion. The same goes with the Christ consciousness. People go, well, you know what I mean when I say this. You shouldn't say it because you say the name, he shall appear. Just like we were saying off recording, you even make a parody image of his name and he shall appear, kind of thing. This doesn't always happen, mind you, but it's just not a good idea. Let's just put it that way. Now, even making memes, of course, you can do your funny things. Just know he has no sense of humor. But in this, the 12, to break it down, you do shadow work, it's associated with, unjustifiably so, with the chakras. Oh, you're opening all these gates in the chakras, and it's opening up this crystalline DNA, and suddenly the 12 strands of DNA open, and it's this big virtuoso of different abilities that you now have that you never thought you had before. That it's dubiously stated, it's neither past nor future, it's just poof there. It's associated with genetic engineering and also hunkering down your actual, not only your length of lifespan, like what Enlil did to people when he took away their genitals and Enki gave them back. You know that story, but stunting the growth of people. The compromise was met where people didn't live as long, and also your toxins and poisons also hamper that. But people think that activating this is you're somehow going to be immortal and then die and turn into a big pillar of salt. No. And minerals. If you turn into a pillar of salt, you're either at Sodom and Gomorrah, you're either around Medusa, or you've died in a nuclear holocaust. So to where it's basically taken all the energy out in some big energy harvest, nuclear-wise, atomic, or other. So this is essentially where this is at. I hope this answers the question.
Yeah, it does. Do you also think it covers the truth of having an oversoul? Because it always thinks that you have to change your body or it becomes something more powerful at some point that becomes what your oversoul already is.
Yes, you are absolutely correct, Bjorn. You already are these things. I know people want to be superheroes, and even by that show Powerless that came out years ago, them showing regular people are powerless. That's a psychological move on the demigods and the government agencies' part, saying you're powerless without superheroes. You are the superhero, like the documentary Waiting for Superman. Basically saying instead of waiting for a superhero, you become it. And then they tried to couple that with the Q movement. You're your own hero. You see where they tried to couple something else, something good, like shadow work and becoming your own hero, with another movement. This is essentially what is going on with that excuse. He's getting mentally hit. What was the part of the other part of the question again?
Yeah, it was the potentially covering up what the oversoul really is. And we
Yeah.
asked Odin this in the last show, asked him about, and I wasn't sure if this was off show or not, or if it's in the show, but we asked about having certain abilities that, because we know that there is some things that seem to be locked in our DNA or that is from our ancestors, you know, an ability to be a certain group of people that seem to have a lot of strength, let's say.
Yes, and
Uh,
that happens to be true. Yes, about the Vikings, all of this. Yes, it happens to be true where it's inherited. Some things are different and have certain different abilities. Yes. And of course, Odin would favor this because he created that particular lineage type originally. And that's a wonderful thing. But at the same time, that's also a reflection of his oversoul and the oversouls of the people. But yes, generally speaking, yes, is a certain genetic engineering then covering up what the oversoul is? Yes, unless that oversoul planned for that type of alteration to begin with to experience that. So that has to be put in play too. There's something that, like that to consider as well. But overall, are they trying to basically block spirit, which is impossible because it's in and around you all at once? Omniversal, super omniversal, on the verge thereof after multiversal. Yes, that's where spirit and oversoul is in the super omniversal and omniversal clusters. Whereas omniversal is a bunch of multiverses, and multiverse is a bunch of universes, but super omniverse is a bunch of omniverses. So if you have this, you put this in play and put this is where the oversoul is. A human form cannot 100% at all emulate omniversal and super omniversal. It is impossible. As I've said before in a previous conversation, it is a paradox. You cannot be a walking is and is not. This is what I've said previously, where some oversouls can be retarded and try to make a singularity into a dualism into a singularity, and that is retarded. You cannot do something like this. So to try to reflect the oversoul completely, to try to become that, oh, you're becoming the superhero, become this. Wrong. When you bring in the traits that you need in the moment for that from that helicopter pilot, and you're the soldier on the ground going through the building, and the helicopter pilot cannot see inside the building, so therefore that's the soldier. That's how that's supposed to be, and it's supposed to be a flow of information. But when you have a megalomaniacal aspect of an oversoul that thinks, okay, I'm going to try this. No, it has to be a unity. Then you get the information you need, even if it's a page in a book you need at the moment. As I said, for those children that came in with certain traits, some attributed to superheroes. Yes, and you can. If somebody's meant to come in with certain traits, they will, for a job that is meant in that moment, or a teaching that is meant in that moment. That is usually the only thing only time I see spirit doing things that way. They might have it come in from another source that might have started out as something negative, but becoming something positive to balance it in as well. It's not all positive, but it is all interwoven. You see what I'm saying?
mhm. Yeah. Is there?
Wondering,
Oh,
I think this is getting a little harsh over here, so I'm hoping we can
mhm.
kind of wrap this conversation up around the Lyrans. Any last conversations about the Lyrans?
Yes, yes. That's excuse the interruptions. There were some pissed off other parties that don't particularly like this conversation. One in particular that you have his portrait back on the back wall over here. Even though it doesn't show most of his face, which actually works in your favor. But he's getting a little peeved because of the Aslan Lion reference and things of that nature. And this is one of the scams that has been prolific for quite some time. I know there was one little question he had on his piece of paper. I will answer this.
It says, what are the Marfa lights that appear outside of Marfa, Texas?
That is not only nature and dimensional. That is also a gathering place for different species. It's a ley line intersection, both dimensional, ultra terrestrials, you call them, portal site type of place, and also. Lyrans actually sometimes appear there as well. But you see these little lights, they're little spaceships, sometimes they're elementals. You have the spaceship like the TARDIS where it's bigger on the inside. You have multiple species that gather there, and what people are just seeing are the lights. That's really all that is.
Okay, well, thank you.
Bjorn, I sense you have a question.
No, I'm good. I can close it off here. I think you answered a lot of questions. I thank you. I could see that you were really getting hit with something there. So I think it's probably we should just close
Yes.
the circle.
Yes, this is so there was also the government agencies were firing some things in, but the main bit of the anger was from some cat beings that don't get that. I'm not blaming them, but also that guy back there. Little peeved. So I thank you for listening to what I had to say, and Adam, always, and thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, he was referring to this painting up here, right here, where it's supposed to be God in the Garden of Eden, but that's Poseidon kept telling me that's a depiction of his brother. Anyway, it refers to God now, Aslan, lion, things of that nature. And I believe Aslan, I will say one more thing, the Creator King, I believe, it is associated, with definitely Jesus, and we know where, and Aslan, it means lion in Turkish. Is really what it is, but the bigger meaning was more of an esoteric, protective type of getting us savior type of mentality, and they didn't want that. So, and that's why Hajamal chose to speak today. So, Joanna, do you have anything else to add before we take it out?
I hope everyone found it nice to hear.
And Bjorn, do you have anything to add?
No, I just want to thank everybody for joining us on the GIC show, and we'll have some more.
Yes, and thank you for subscribing to this site. We greatly appreciate it. Looking for future episodes. We got the vampire and the Christ episode coming up, so look for that. So, and you already saw the Draco episode before this. So, this is where I close this circle within true benevolence and no conflicting agendas at this moment in time. So, thank you, everybody. Bye-bye now.
Thanks.